Welcome back to Made Possible by Pop Culture, the podcast, where I, host and producer Danielle Turchiano, deep dive into pop culture's past and present with weekly guests. Today's episode has been a little while in the making, you could say. I originally asked him to be a part of my beta test of episodes pre-launch, but then I quickly realized why would I waste him on an episode that people may never actually hear? So then I thought, well, maybe I can have him on for season two because the timing aligned with a new show of his premiering, but that just didn't work out. So, as they say, the third time's the charm, and here he is, folks, finally, Nick Wechsler. Welcome, Nick.
Hey, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for
I
having me.
I also love that. I mean, I feel like a lot of people, especially people listening to this, know and love you from TV like Roswell, Revenge, like more recently, The Boys, The Hunting Party. But I'm really excited that you're here for a film because I don't get to talk about film that much. And I know you had a great time on this movie, and it comes
Yeah,
out today. It's called Primitive War. So I'm very excited to be talking to you about it. I
I'm
want
very
to
excited to
start.
be talking about it. Yeah,
I want
but
to start by asking you, you just came off Comic-Con having to talk about it a lot.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, what is the experience like going to a place like Comic-Con for a film versus a TV show, where there are a lot of differences in who you were talking to, what you were allowed to say, how the, process was being Comic-Con 2025 post-pandemic, all that.
I mean, it was first of all, it was really cool to go. Like, they have a lot of cool shit on the floor. I got to walk the floor and look at shit. But but then it was cool to be there for like a lot of jobs are just jobs, and you're not like you gotta like promote
Yeah.
whatever. You're like, yeah, okay. But every now and then you maybe find a moment, even in those, that you're I was proud of this moment or whatever. Um, but with this one, I really had a lot of fun doing it. I really loved everyone involved. I love the filmmaker. I love the producers. I love just like the crew, cast, everyone. I just had, and where we shot was amazing. So just like everything about it, and our technical advisor, like everything about it was just great. So going to represent a thing that I actually liked and had fun, like I remember reading the script, I was like, this is actually like good, even though like I felt like it shouldn't be considering what it's about. Like it just,
Also, I just like your surprise, like, oh, it's good. But I mean, I would hope that a lot of things you read are good. Like, it upsets me that it
oh
was.
no,
I
no,
don't.
no, no.
I would hope. My hope is that we are not making a bunch of crap anymore in
We're
Hollywood.
making we're making a bunch of crap.
Well, but that's why I'm saying, like, the surprise was maybe not a surprise to me just now, but also
Yeah.
upsetting to me just now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's frustrating. So like yeah, I mean, and this is just like an insane concept that I guess the author Ethan Pettis came up with. Um, but yeah, so it was fun to go there for that, and actually like promote something that I'm like I want. And look, the filmmaker Luke Spark, um, and these producers like are just lovely people who I feel like indie movies are just like almost feels like they're dying, and like I know there's still something like A24 but has the corner, the market cornered on indies, but they're also like big, it feels like often big
Yeah,
budget indies.
yeah, I think it depends on what our definition of indie is now, because I do feel like there are different tiers. There are some that, people are calling independent films that are a couple $1 million to make still independent. And I was like, well, when I was working in independent film right out of college, they were a couple $100,000. Like there's a big divide between what that means for what the film can even be. Like I should say this, we are not a podcast where we can afford to like play your trailer. So for those of you who don't know what this movie is and why he's saying like it's better than it should be for the concept, it is ultimately a war movie set in, 1968 Vietnam, but there are dinosaurs. And it is based on a book. As you mentioned, Ethan Pettis wrote the book. I haven't read the book. Did you read the book?
I haven't read it either. I didn't have time. And then after I did the movie, I was like, well, I don't need to read it now. But
Well, that's
not in the shitty way. Like
That's fair though, because I was going to say we're not, if you haven't read it, we won't get into like what changes may have been made. But the fact that there is even a book and it came out in 2017, I believe, so a couple of years ago, it's not something that they, unearthed from decades ago where it would be have to be changed drastically to be filmable today
right,
necessarily.
right.
Um, and yet, hearing dinosaurs and even war as an independent film, depending on a budget, I think is scary.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's yeah. The filmmaker Luke Spark, he's his like biggest inspiration is George Lucas. So yeah. So like like somebody who's able to kind of like make things. Obviously, in the beginning, he needed other people's money, but then he made enough money from Star Wars to like make things without help. Um, uh, and I don't know that he's able to do that, but like yeah, so like I think some of the places that he was able to get funds like didn't come with a whole lot of strings, I think.
Mhm.
So he's able to kind of do what he wanted and it just yeah, it's cool. It's cool because not I don't know. I wouldn't have gotten cast if no, I mean it, and I'm not being modest. I mean like if I just mean the way the industry works. If this had a big budget,
Mhm.
the more money you get,
Sure.
usually the
Thank
more
you.
strings are attached, and everybody wants a guarantee on their return. And so the closest thing they can do to getting a guarantee on their return is hiring a name, a big name, and I'm not a big name. So I just like, so getting to do it independently like this is like the only way that people like me get a chance. And for his sake, I hope this does well, and he can't hire me ever again because But I'm like, uh, for my sake, I hope more independent film
Yeah.
like this gets made where they're forced to cast some people like 'cause A24 movies. They're phenomenal, but I tend to see a lot of the same people who get all the opportunities already are in them, and I'm like, and they're amazing. Like I love
Right.
them.
But
They're
that's
like
also the marketing of like, well, who's going to be able to open this movie? Like who do we know people will go see?
right.
And if they've done something similar to it before, that's helpful. If they're a big name, that's helpful. That used to frustrate me when this was a few years ago now, but I mean, I was working at a network and I would hear things in certain offices like who has more followers on social media. And I was like, that's a crazy sentence because just because they have followers doesn't mean they have people who will buy a ticket. Like
Yeah,
you pay for bots to follow you, but you're not even worried about engagement and you're not even worried about location. Like what if they don't, what if they're all in this where I worked, there was a very heavy fandom based in Brazil, and Brazil is great. They love their TV stars. They will follow you anywhere. But if your film is not opening in whatever theaters they have in Brazil, that's not helpful.
yeah,
So you really have to weigh, are we giving the best person the role, or are we looking at all of these other things that we can't control that are upsetting the algorithm in a way?
yeah. And I mean, look, I think if you're looking for the like ideally you get the best person for
Sure.
everything, but I'm not the best. I'm not the
My
best
God.
actor. I'm not no no I mean it. Like I'm not even being like a fucking I'm not being beating up on myself. I'm like just are there better actors than me? Yes.
Yeah, but
There's
you can't
tons.
say that. You can't walk into the room with that mindset. Like you have to
Well,
think you're the best in order to like
just
start.
so you know, nobody's walking into any fucking rooms ever again.
Well,
Um
you know what I mean. Like
yeah,
you
yeah.
put on Zoom and be like, I am the best.
I never feel that way, but and I could be wrong, but I don't even think it's generally cost me roles to
Hmm.
not to be like humble or whatever. But no, I feel like I'm just being realistic about it. Like everything is a compromise, and I'm just I feel like the bigger the budget and the more expectations placed and stuff, the less likely I am to ever be the compromise. And
Mm.
I'm happy to be like I was asked, sorry, I feel like I'm taking us way off topic already, but like
There
um
is, I mean, the topic is the film. So like we can
okay.
go wherever. I have
Yeah,
bullet
but
points. I can get us back to the
okay, good, good.
about the film.
Because it's also like you're my friend, so I'm just gonna shoot the shit with you
Because
and
you're
it'll
gonna
just
make me edit a 3 hour conversation. I see how
yeah.
this is going. Okay.
Um but I was asked in some interview like I don't know while like for the hunting party slash this movie um I don't know a few months ago or something they were like who are some people you like want to work with like like who's like a dream collaborator or something and I was like this isn't the answer anybody wants I'm sure because they probably want to hear me pair myself with like an auteur that that we know and like just like someone that it's like oh I want to work with like Paul Thomas Anderson is my favorite filmmaker but like I'm never going to get to work with him and that's and frankly I love his work so much that if I was in
Yeah.
it would like pull me out of it. It's like I'd be like I'm so beat up on myself so much that I'm like I'd be like I ruined that moment. Like I shouldn't be in, I don't know. It's like it's so good as it is. I don't
Leave it
picture
alone.
myself in like there's certain things like certain moments, certain things that I'm like, but I don't know. I almost never watch a thing that I love and go, God, I should be in that.
Right.
I, I'm like, that is perfect. I can't touch that. That is amazing. But also I want, so basically what I said in the answer was I just want to work with my friends.
Okay.
I want to work with people who trust me, who get my thing,
Hmm.
whatever I am, my humor, whatever, who know like my what my strengths are and who are just like, no, 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 just let him do something. And who I feel that way about them. And I don't get excited by the idea of going and doing a thing with a room full of the most talented people in the
Sure.
world. Like it'd be flattering to be considered worthy of it, but I'm like, I don't, but I'd feel like out of place.
Mm.
Um, but being with the people who I feel safe with, who draw my favorite parts of me and my most confident self out of me, those are the people I want. And the other thing is aren't already getting all the opportunities. Everybody that I see on the menu
Right.
is like it's like yeah, there's the same stuff on this menu and this menu and this menu, and they're great. I'm not saying they're not good, but I'm like I don't need if I'm building my perfect world. Why the
Yeah.
fuck would I keep giving you in even in my hypothetical, keep giving you all the work?
Yeah.
I want to give it to my fucking friends
I
who are
don't think that
talented.
I don't think that that's not the answer they would have wanted, but I do think that like that's not there's no head you can't give them a headline with that. They needed a name for the headline.
Yeah, yeah.
Just name a friend and like that's a fair answer. You know what I mean? Like they didn't need the big name answer. They didn't need Paul Thomas Anderson. But it's a lot harder to get the headline from I want to work with my friends, but who are your friends? You know what I mean? I think
But even that, I'm like,
that's what
well,
you should put
you're
in the
not.
universe.
A lot of the time, you're not going to know who my friends are.
That's okay. You just got to
You
put it
know?
out there in the universe. People would keep telling me that. They keep telling me to be, I'm not a very like I don't know anything about astrology. I don't know anything about, crystals and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
new age stuff. But people keep saying that to me. Like, oh no, those are the things you should start to pay attention to because that's how you manifest what you want. And I'm like, yeah, we'll see. So I'm paying
Yeah,
it
yeah.
forward to you.
Okay, fine.
So we'll see if it works.
Yeah.
I want to go back to something you said though, because you mentioned a technical advisor on this movie. Is
Yeah.
the technical advisor that you were working with more for the like war and combat and stunt stuff, or the like sciency dinosaur stuff?
No, the war combat stuff.
Okay.
His
It-
name is Freddie Joe Farnsworth. and he was just like the strongest resource for us because he just was like, I mean, honestly, without him, the thing, so the you know you're talking earlier about like the changes that you were like, oh, maybe I won't bring up the changes between the novel and the movie,
Right.
but there's one change that I will bring up, which is um that so, and I haven't, again, I haven't read the book, but I know that this change was made, um that the Luke decided to make this, to like kind of ground the military stuff, to really make it authentic as much as he could, and so he had. So Luke comes from a family of costumers who worked on, like, I think the Pacific or something,
Oh,
that
wow.
the HBO show that um and so, and his family's been like amassing a massive like US military, like, Vietnam and other military, uh well, maybe mostly Vietnam, I actually don't know, but a massive stockpile of wardrobe and stuff, um and And I think other things, like they might even have like access to tanks from the time, or like hulls of like helicopters and stuff. Like, so they've been kind of collecting this stuff and warehousing it for use in films and stuff for a while. And but then when Luke struck out on his own to be a filmmaker, he so the Dale Dye is a like a legendary uh, military advisor. He was on set on, on a bunch of things. I think it was like Platoon or something. Like he's just been like definitely Saving Private Ryan. Like he was like the military advisor for Saving Private Ryan. He helps kind of rewrite moments to make sure the language and the things are accurate. But he also is on set going like you know, he might lead, I actually don't know in their case, but like in Freddie's case, like led a little bit of a boot camp with us, you
Mhm.
know. Now we only had like a day and a half of it. So so we didn't
I
have
feel
that
like
much.
that feels like enough. Like I've never seen real boot camp, but I've seen it depicted in film and TV, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know why anybody would put themselves through that for real, but certainly quote unquote just for a role. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
intense.
I mean, it's funny because, actors, it's like the less we have to, I think from a lot of us anyway, the less we have to imagine and pretend, the better. Like, so you so giving us the like a difficult training would be like put us more into the mindset, and you just over the course of it start to learn things like how to hold
Yeah, that's true.
your what they we kept getting our fucking wrists slapped if we said gun when it's a rifle. You call it a weapon instead. But so like how you hold your weapon, and it's individual for everyone, and how, just, but like at first it felt so awkward and I didn't know what to do, and by the end of the movie it was like, oh, I hold it like this. And so there's just things that you would learn over the course of training, and you wouldn't need to, like, I felt like I learned it over the course of the film, but if you have a bigger budget and longer training, you maybe figured that out over the course of training.
Okay.
And so that on day one of filming, you already hold the weapon right and whatever. Just shit like that. But so Dale Dye was a friend of the family because he met them when they were shooting, again, I think it was the Pacific. Um, so Luke, when he wrote this script and decided, I want to make it more militarily authentic than the book,
Hmm.
um, he reached out to Dale Dye. Again, this dude's a legend. He's
Yeah.
been on tons of stuff. Like if you look him up, um, and said, "Will you help me like rewrite this script to make it more like authentic?" And that's what, like, when I was reading it, I was like, this is like good. I don't know why
That's
it's
what made the
like why is
difference.
it good? Yeah, and I think it was largely because of the like because if it felt like a thin excuse to show dinosaurs to just, have like then it would just be kind of lame. But the fact that it felt like, well, this is like a war movie
Right.
that later then happens to have dinosaurs in it, it felt like so much cooler to me that he
Well,
grounded it.
it also feels like, I mean, there's extra layers for sure because yes, war movie, yes, dinosaurs, but also like the reason the dinosaurs are there. That has to be important. That has to feel authentic too. And like, I'm sorry, but our governments are doing some weird shit. Like there's I 100%, especially because we've had Jurassic Park now for like 30 years, like 100%
Yeah.
they're testing. If they're bringing back like woolly mammoths and stuff, I now believe they're trying to bring back dinosaurs, as stupid as that is. So
Yeah,
the fact that there is that kind of political aspect to like experiments and things that are happening and um I feel like that's an extra important layer in a movie like this, just to allow you to suspend your disbelief without kind of rolling your eyes.
totally, totally. So Freddie J. Farnsworth is the person who I believe was a protege of Dale Dye's and has since become kind of a little bit of a legend in his own right in the industry. He was our on-set military advisor, and really, it just makes all the difference. Like if Luke hadn't decided I want this to be authentic, and he hadn't uh, then sprung for uh, uh, the like the budget for him, budgeted him, then we wouldn't have it wouldn't be as good. And so he was just this major resource and like making us look good. And but almost selfishly, which is great. Like because he's like, well, there's a bunch of soldiers who actually like there's tons of people who actually did this shit. You can't pretend to be them and dishonor them and just shit all over what they did. Like people died for this shit, so just like honor their what they had to do. So he wants to make you look good so that they don't look like idiots.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but um, but yeah, so that was great. There was something else in there that you said that I wanted to address,
Oh
and I can't
no,
remember
I
what it
don't
was.
remember anything.
Yeah,
I
yeah, whatever. It's
you
fine.
think about it. Feel free to bring it up, but it
I
was
can't
not
remember.
important. I was going to ask you how the training for a movie like this, playing a soldier, differed from training for something like The Boys, where you're playing a cop. So like you have to carry yourself with similar authority, but at the same time, I imagine the stunts you're doing are very different. I mean, I know you're never going to be pulled behind a train again, like pulled
Yeah,
to
yeah.
again. So I feel like you did kind of answer that already just with the boot camp, but is there anything that you did want to add in terms of like specific physicality for this character being a soldier, but also like is there anything from his background that you needed to work in to differentiate him from himself from the squad?
No. So I'll explain. Um, I so this might explain why I don't work more and why I'm not as good an actor. But as I maybe could be, but like I'm not I don't see myself as like I'm not chameleonic and I'm not even aiming to be. Like while I deeply admire like Joaquin is like one of the greatest fucking actors I've ever fucking witnessed. Like um Daniel Day-Lewis, all these guys, but I'm like, yeah, I'm never gonna do that. Like like I weirdly got started acting to be more of like a Zach Galifianakis. And then I just got hired to do drama and I'm like, oh, okay. Um
A romantic drama as well, not just drama,
yeah.
romantic
Yeah.
partner drama.
Yeah. So and then a lot of cop stuff, which is weird. Um but but so no, I don't know. Like I feel my whole career has been this weird like I don't know, like thing for me where I'm like the side of me that just wants to be comedic in something or whatever is like at odds or not at odds, but just like is a little jealous almost of the dramatic part of me because I'm like, that's the one that's getting all the work. And what were we gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say, it seems like you get to do that a little bit in this movie. Like even in just the trailer, they ended on a one-liner from you that I don't know was an ad lib or not. I don't know if it was supposed to
It
be
was
funny or
it
not.
was
It
it
really
was in the
hit me in the
script.
moment.
Yeah, it was in the script, but like so something one of the reasons I'm I had such a good time on it. Luke, he'd already written a good script.
Mhm.
Um, I've read a lot worse and been told to say it as written.
Right?
But Luke wrote a great script and then was like, go crazy, say it your way, ad lib, whatever, basically like,
Be funny.
yeah, just gave me leash, a long leash to like go do what you want, basically. So, and I was hired in a like it was a very quick turnaround. Um, I didn't have time to put together my character's supposed to be from Kentucky. I think that's where it is, or maybe Tennessee. I can't remember. Anyway, um,
But with an accent, obviously.
yeah, he was supposed to have an accent. Like there's stuff that I say that I'm like, like that. There's like no way to say that without an accent, but I did it because uh, because I was like, I always feel like if you just tell people you're from an area, if you tell an audience this character's from this area, and they don't really do an accent, it'll kind of work for most people because they're just like, okay, they're saying he's from there. I guess maybe not everybody has a thick accent. Okay.
Hmm.
But so maybe not everybody notices. They're just like, okay, he's saying he's from that area.
Right.
But, but you fucking, because not everybody from, where are you from? Jersey?
Dare you? No, New York, close enough.
Okay, New York.
I
Okay.
don't like either place. Everyone's gonna come for me. It's fine. But you're not wrong. It's just when I'm hearing you say that, I feel like if you hear someone's from a place and they're not doing an accent, I think you're more inclined to forget what that you heard they were from there. And so that's why it doesn't matter. Because I will say there are definitely shows where it's like these people are supposed to be from these places, and all I'm listening for is how accurate is that accent.
Yeah, well, see, for me, it's like if I hear because like not everybody who lived in New York,
No, that's true.
talks like this,
No,
not everybody, like so I'm like, uh, that's a horrible. You
no,
get
no,
it,
no, but
but
it's
like, and
stereotype,
so
and that's the thing everybody thinks they're going to hear. Like if they see a film, they think they're all going to sound like The Sopranos.
yeah, and so like, so I feel like if you just kind of, this is just exposing some laziness on my part or some whatever, but just like it's just something I've witnessed in when watching things. I accept more if the movie or TV show or whatever is telling me this character's from here, but they're not really doing an accent. I just go, okay, maybe they're one of those people that has kind of a neutral accent, but they're from that area. Okay. But if you do an accent badly,
Yes.
everyone notices. So, and it pulls at least me out of it. So I'm like, I don't want to be that other one. I'd rather be the one that just tells the audience, I'm from here, and but I talk like this. Um, and so that was part of the calculation because I was like, well, I got to learn lines. I can't also do an accent on like 2 days' notice. Um, it wasn't literally 2 days. It was gonna be, I think, for like it was gonna be a very quick turnaround like that, like just a 5 days or something. They wanted me to fly there, and I was like, oh, if you can get me more time, I need a little more time. Um, so I think it ended up being like just a handful more days, but like again, I
And
wasn't
that's
gonna
also
like,
with like the flying to Queensland where there's jet lag involved and like however long that flight is takes up some of those days. That's a whole
yeah,
separate thing.
yeah, it was Gold Coast, but yeah,
Old
and
Coast, sorry.
no, it's all good. But yeah, but it was so for me, like one of the reasons I had such a great time is the trust that Luke gave us and the um there are some ad libs that end up in the movie because they're, like, um, but it also just gave. it created a looseness so that even
Yeah.
if he cuts the stuff out and just uses scripted versions of things, I felt more it felt more authentic because I didn't have to say that line a million times until it lost all meaning. So there was still some authenticity to it or whatever. So he uh so yeah, like I, I had the thing that I always kind of wish I could do in every role is, again, I'm not a chameleon. I mostly just want to be able to bring some of myself
Yeah.
to a role. The thing that I have that makes me a little different from anyone else, my particular sensibilities and whatever. And I feel like I never get to
Mm.
do it. Like, there's Seth Rogen and these other guys, they get to bring themselves to it. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I wanna. Like, I'm not trying to be so different role to role. I just want to there's like,
But it's also harder, I think, because of some of the projects you're in, like especially if it's a genre project. It's the line sometimes is harder to find room to allow the character to have that kind of breathing room. Or even, I mean, I don't know if you consider yourself the comedic relief in this particular film, Primitive War, but like even that, like you can't plunk Seth Rogen doing Seth Rogen's thing down in something like The Boys, or I would argue Primitive War. Like it would take everybody out of the movie, like out of the vibe of like believing this over the top world.
yeah, maybe so. I mean,
That's why I keep telling you you have to write your own thing, but
yeah.
I'll not publicly shame you too much about that now.
Yeah, yeah. I know. Fuck. Um, yeah. But yeah, so it was fun to get to like I feel like I got to bring more of my thing, whatever I do, whatever my little personal brand is that my friends would recognize as like Nick. Um, I got to bring a bit more of that to the role while still making him more of an asshole than I am and taking my cue from things in the script, whether totally intended or not. I just was like, okay, he says a lot of unhelpful pain in the ass things. So I'm gonna make him an unhelpful pain in the ass who like, you know, is very loyal to the group, will have their back. Like I think they're probably the the best thing in his life, probably, is the family that he has with this squad. But and so it's like he'll defend them obviously to the death, but he but he's also like he also says annoying shit. It's like just shut the fuck up. My character's name is Eli. It's like shut the fuck up, Eli.
It's a special squad, so I imagine if he was too annoying, they would not have allowed him on it. So I feel like there's a
Yeah.
reason you're there. There's a reason they allow him to be. He must also obviously we're not trying to discount the skill involved in being a soldier. I'm sure that is part of it as well. But I do think, especially in a situation like that, if you really didn't like your squad mates, there'd be a there'd be too much of a potential friendly fire situation, and so therefore
You can't do that.
it can't be that bad, is what I'm
Yeah, yeah.
trying to say.
Yeah, yeah. I
Can't be
mean,
that.
yeah, yeah. I also think Luke like trimmed some of the caustic, most caustic parts of my character's personality because he was saying like people are responding well to your character, and I want to lean into that a bit more rather than like muddying the waters and making him a little unlikable when they really they like him. So they trimmed some of that the caustic parts out. But yeah.
That's fair. I feel like now I understand your past pop culture influence a lot better. Because hearing you talk about, wanting to do comedy and like especially making this character kind of, I wouldn't say pain in the ass, but just a little bit more offbeat maybe. Well, I always like my guests to set up what they chose. I will say, I had never heard this person's work before. So I went down a real deep dive and I don't know where to begin here. So I want you to set up the general like why you chose this, but
Yeah.
also like little Nick, however old you were when you first discovered this and made it such an influence on your life, like where you were in your life that made that possible.
person who was the biggest influence on my taste and stuff. Although it's hard, it's a chicken or the egg situation. I don't know, like if I probably had things in me that made me gravitate towards this kind of thing. So it wasn't that he made me like getting into him made me this way. It's just like he was a rewarding
Mhm.
person to get into for someone who already had this makeup and this and some an oddness or a darkness or whatever. Um, but then it was this feedback loop of like,
Yeah.
like I was already maybe gravitating towards that, and then he is that, and kind of he starts to get me into other stuff. His name is Mike Patton. Um,
I know. I always set it up in a way that like it takes us forever to actually say what it is. That is not a good journalistic tactic, but it is good to make people to continue to listen longer. I will say
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so.
Yeah, the suspense is killing them. But so yeah, he was the singer. So when I first discovered him, he's a singer for Faith No More, and Mr. Bungle and a thousand other bands. Um, but when I first discovered him, it was like the way most people discovered him. If you were lucky enough to grow up in fucking Northern California, um, in probably the late 80s, early 90s, then I think they started out in Eureka or something, or Humboldt or something. Then you maybe knew about Bungle first, Mr. Bungle. But if you, uh, but if not, then you discovered Mike Patton in the late 80s with Faith No More. I think it was like 89 or 90 or something, 91. Um,
Well, that's what I was going to ask you is when you did discover him,
it
because
was,
you didn't
it
grow up
was,
in Northern California, right?
no, no, I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so I just heard, um, Epic, the song that was sort of like Mr. Bungle, I mean, sorry, Faith No More's um most
Mainstream.
yeah, most mainstream hit, like kind of to my chagrin because I think it's good, but it's like I love
That
the song, but it's like,
that always happens though. The most mainstream one is never going to be your favorite one.
well, I mean, like, sometimes it is, but it's rare, and like they've because that album, as great as it is, because it's great. Um, the real thing, it's called.
Mhm.
The album that followed is so much darker and more uncomfortable. And I really, I don't know, it reminded me of being like a kid looking into the dark and being scared, like convinced I could see eyes looking back at me and being scared. But I was listening to it, I was like uncomfortable, but I was like, well, whatever monster this is can't hurt me. It's just an oral thing. And so I was like, okay, like, so it felt like getting to walk through a nightmare, like, and just explore, like, just like look around and be like, okay, none of these things can hurt me, but it's really uncomfortable for me. And that,
That was this. That's you're talking about Angel Dust, the one after the real thing, right?
yes, yes. So
That
sorry. Yeah,
was
I can start it.
early 90s. So like you were still pretty young.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but what I think is interesting about the story you're telling is like you're young to have the experience of acknowledging this thing can't hurt me. Because I think a lot of kids, if they, and this is obviously the fear behind censorship, but like a lot of kids sometimes will see something scary on TV or hear something scary in a song and never want to listen to it or watch it again. Like it puts a like that's why there's so many people afraid of clowns. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you have already at that young age, like the ability to separate it and to say, like, I know this isn't real. I know this can't actually, and now I'm really interested in what this is because of that. That's what I think is really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, his voice is what sort of drew me in at first. Also, they made, that first album, they made music that was like in my wheelhouse or whatever. So I loved them sonically, but also, but he had a more nasal voice back then, but he just was very capable. Like, and then when you'd see them perform, the, there there was like he's insane and he's funny and like, but in a really uncomfortable, dark way, and um and they and in every interview they were very like there was a caustic kind of like a almost violent irreverence
Mm.
to like they just kind of felt like it seemed like they felt like I don't want anything. Fame wasn't what they were after, and like and they would be kind of they would be kind of a pain in the ass in every interview, and they would like um and yeah, so I don't know. They just I really related to that and really like appreciated all that and like like um so I was kind of drawn in by a lot of that, but like also sonically they're irreverent. They're making, they would do these they would have these songs that had pop elements, but then there's a lot of metal, but then they have like a death metal song plopped in the middle of a thing, but it's like some of the subjects were insane and stuff and um but I became like my fandom really cemented with Angel Dust because it was such a bold move to go so dark
Mhm.
and risk shaking all of your fans.
Yeah.
The ones who stayed were like fans for life because you risked it all to do something much more adult and uncomfortable. And so yeah, I don't know why I grow up watching like horror movies and stuff, and I guess maybe some part of me always was like curious about the darkness and I don't know, I've always felt like nightmares are kind of amazing.
Okay.
Like, because how cool is it that you get to experience like being chased by a fucking murderer or having your teeth bashed in or
Interesting.
and,
But because
and
you know they're not real when you wake up.
yeah, and you wake up and it's like, oh, that's like, and it just feels like
I mean, I
plugging into
see
the,
where you're
oh,
coming from, but as somebody with literal high blood pressure, I wouldn't necessarily
yeah,
agree.
yeah, 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 yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I do. I mean, it's been a long time since I've been able to remember a nightmare, but I do feel like that when you wake up, that like adrenaline spike, that like rush of like still kind of in the fear of the moment, but like, oh wait, no, I'm okay, I'm coming down.
yeah,
Work both ways. I think like if you stay in that initial adrenaline spike too long, that makes you anxious in your day-to-day life.
yeah,
But it's a lot of healthier, obviously, if you're going your route of like, no, I know it's fake, and how cool was it that like now I had this. I don't know if I should say memory because it's not real, so maybe memory is the
yeah.
wrong word, but experience.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. I'm also like, I can't claim to have always been this way, but I'm like, I'm not perfect about it, obviously, but like, I'm like hyper rational,
Yeah.
at least now. Um, but so like I went to a movie the other day, and I went to see Weapons, which is fucking
Yes.
amazing, fucking amazing. And my friend who was next to me, is Sally Patrick, who's a writer from
Mhm.
Revenge.
Mhm.
Um, uh, she kind of kept like oh at certain moments, and it's interesting because I don't have that reaction to anything because I'm like you
Well,
can like
you
you
know
can
what?
like surprise me, you can like jump scare me, but I don't get scared, I get surprised. I'm like oh, okay, okay, but I don't you can't sustain fear in me because I'm like I don't feel like oh no, what's gonna happen, oh no, I'm scared, I don't want to look. I never have that. And so I just told her when she was freaking out. and I don't want to ruin her. Like if that's part of her good time, then I don't want to ruin it. But it almost feels like it's ruining her good time.
Yeah, I
So
was going to say, I don't think that it is part of anyone's good time. I think it is people can't turn off the fear reaction of like intellectually, you know, it's fake. That's a great example of somebody who works in this business and probably knows how they did everything, but you still have this part of your brain that just doesn't, it is buying into everything the movie is selling. It's putting you in this mood of like, you could be next, kind of. And I mean, that movie isn't a slasher, so I also think the fear-based in that movie is very different. Like allegorically, I don't know if she has kids, but like allegorically, I could see that fear a lot coming
yeah.
out. Maybe not in the I'm going to cover my face way, but just in a different way.
Y- Yeah, I mean, yeah, I leaned over to her and was like, I said, I have good news. It's all fake. But my point is just like I've sort of always like with nightmares and with scary movies and all this shit. I sometimes feel like I'm like I would go to a haunted house with friends and they're all like, "Ugh,"
Yeah,
and I'm just walking around going, "Oh, that was an interesting effect." Like, "Oh,
yeah,
that thing was like effective or whatever." Um, like that was executed well. And I'm kind of just marveling at like with gory effects and stuff. I'm more like marveling at I feel like I it gets me laughing and kind of applauding when I'm like everybody else is like, oh, and I'm like, nice.
yeah, you did a good
Fucking
job.
good
I do.
job.
I was very much like that. I used to go to Madison Square Garden every year. They would turn Madison
Nice.
Square Garden into like mazes. And I
Oh
was,
wow.
a kid, like 12, 13, whatever. And I loved going through them. I never got scared. But I will say that I feel like as I've gotten older, there's a general, it's not a fear, but it is in an experience like that, like at Universal when they do their haunted mazes. It's more of like, I don't want these strange people in costumes to touch me. And I think that just
Yeah.
comes from honestly being like a woman in the world of like, just
Mm.
keep your distance and we'll be fine. Like, I'm
Oh
not
my God.
screaming because I'm afraid of this vampire. I'm screaming maybe because like that's my stay back. The way a dog will bark to set a boundary,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
my boundary. I'll
Yeah,
scream in your
yeah.
face, stay back.
Oh, that
So I
breaks my
do,
heart.
I
Yeah.
do wonder sometimes how much when you are able to sustain that level of rationality, how much of it is because it started in you as a kid and because you just never developed that sense of fear, but also how much of it is the experiences you've had maybe also reinforce like, hey, yeah, this is all fake. And again, like you've worked on great movies and TV with effects. You know how this stuff is done. So I think it all helps as like,
Yeah, but I mean, even people like Sally and whatever, people who know, like it still affects. And so for me, I don't know. I don't know why what happened, but I feel like a lot of it is like exposure therapy.
hmm,
Um,
yeah, maybe.
almost like even the fact that like I think Radiohead got like a bad rap for being like sad, like sad future music or something. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like the fact that people just kind of write it off as sad or people I remember an ex-girlfriend of mine, and she's great, so I'm not getting on her case, but just
Okay.
like but uh watching like I think she said she watched Blue Valentine and she was so mad at
Okay.
it. And I was like, Blue Valentine's one of my favorite movies, but it's like why are you he's like this blah blah this piece of shit movie or something. And I was like, well, it's not a piece of shit. Like everyone was anyone bad in it? Was it like there did it not feel authentic? Was it like badly written, badly directed? Like was a cinematography bad? Like there's nothing bad in it. Um, it's just you didn't like the way it made you feel.
Right.
Now, to me, that movie made me feel seen. It made me feel like I related to it more than I relate to any story of love working out, tragically. Um, and so I feel more seen by it. I feel more like thank you.
Right.
You know, I feel like I exist when I see a movie like that. But when I see a movie like a fucking happy ending, or whatever, I'm not saying those things can't happen, but I feel like
but they're not necessarily meant, those are not necessarily meant to be realistic. Like it's the what do you want out of the movie you're going to see, right? Like Blue
Right, but
Velvet might be more, oh, go ahead, sorry.
don't hold the movie responsible for your expectation.
No, that's true. I'm just saying I think that might have been the divide there, is that like Blue Velvet
Not
is,
Blue Velvet, Blue Valentine.
oh, Blue Valentine. Why did I hear Blue Velvet? Either way, Blue Valentine, like it is not, I don't think anyone necessarily walked in there thinking rom-com.
For sure, but I think she thought it was going to be like just a love story of, blah, blah, and then just didn't expect this like the tragedy of their, spoiler alert, their love dissolving.
Right. It's not a
Um,
spoiler. That movie has been out for
I
years.
know, but still, because maybe some people haven't seen
I
the movie.
know, but I never give spoiler alerts for things that we talk about because I'm like, unless it is in the case of your movie that literally is out today,
Yeah,
like you had opportunity to see it.
yeah, but I feel like I like what I felt like I observed in that moment with her and then with other friends and just other people in the world was that they have something they expect of the art they're consuming, something they want it to make them feel. And they if it doesn't make them feel that way, they get kind of mad because it's like, well, no, I don't want to think about sad things. I want an escape or whatever. And I'm like, okay, but that's not that piece of art's fault. This artist set out to make you feel everything you felt. You just hated feeling it. And so I feel like I have I've been a sad guy for so much of my life. I feel like I live in discomfort
Mhm.
a lot and sort of like sad or whatever like or I don't know. I feel like I kind of am not really afraid of the dark anymore because I was exposed to it. I was exposed to my sadness long enough or whatever that I feel seen by someone else showing me their sadness. I don't feel like get that fucking away from me. You're making me sad, you know?
Right.
And so I think similarly, like things that scared me. I don't know. Look, I won't go into a whole lot, but like I lost a brother to cancer when I was like 14 or something. And you just, when you go through something like that, when you're still kind of forming, um, your worldview darkens a little.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say gives you perspective because like
Well,
that's the real sadness.
well,
Like
exactly.
they,
That it does that too. That like I'm like, oh, I can make it through because I've been through a real nightmare, a real life nightmare. Like I'm not scared of a demon
right,
because it's not real.
right.
I'm scared of like, like a human being who could actually harm someone I love, or I'm scared, um, uh, and so supernatural shit doesn't scare me. Serial killers can kind of unnerve me if it's played
Hmm.
chillingly enough or whatever. But even then, it doesn't sustain fear. I'm just like, ooh, good performance and whatever. But yeah, I think maybe just the exposure to that to the real life nightmare of loss early on made me go, well, nothing's going to compare to this nightmare. So I can kind of get through a lot of. So I just, when I retreat and listen to music and and just like hang out in these dark, uncomfortable, murderous corners and be
That's also
like,
the difference of the willingness, to sit in that darkness or in that sadness or whatever. Like, I think part of it is a lot of people aren't willing or incapable or unwilling, depending on who they are, to do that. And I think that's part of why. So, I mean, we're talking about music right now, and you're a big music guy. Like, look at the state of pop music. Even the songs that are oftentimes, if you listen to lyrics, tragic, are they put peppy beats under them. You don't even realize what you're singing when you're 9 years old because they're trying to draw you into something by making it sound happy and fun because people don't want to sit there and like just cry over ballads all day, or maybe not even cry, but like
Yeah.
listen to ballads all day or listen to, anger all day, which I think says more like collectively about society and also a little bit about marketing, if I'm honest, because like even like thinking about Blue Valentine, I'm like, maybe they didn't market it right? Like I don't remember, but like maybe also people went into that saying like, well, Michelle Williams and Ryan Gosling are going to have a happy ending because like of course they are. I mean, the poster didn't feel happy to me at the time, but I don't remember
Yeah.
the trailer. So I don't know. I've just gone down my own little rabbit hole listening to you talk. But I do think that that often makes a big difference. And I mean, you probably can say more than I can because you are a big music guy, and I, as we have famously learned on this podcast, don't know a lot about music. When was the first time, if you at all, saw him in concert? Did you go see Mike Patton?
Yeah.
We were talking about
Oh,
performances a few minutes ago, and I didn't know if you meant live or like on MTV.
I've seen him live a lot, a lot. Um, the first time was with Faith No More opening for Guns N' Roses and Metallica in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I went with a friend of mine. It was my first concert, and uh,
Wait, your first concert ever?
yeah, yeah,
That's
and I like went with my friend. Uh, I believe it was my friend Simona and her mom, and they because Simona was a big uh, fan of Guns N' Roses, I think. And she was like obsessed with Axl, and um, I I remember kind of being like, yeah, I like Guns N' Roses and Metallica too, but like deep down, I was like, I'm just here for Faith No More. Like I was really just there because I was like, holy shit, I'm gonna get to see Faith No More. We had kind of nosebleeds and it wasn't great. And that morning, unfortunately, I'd like because it was far enough away that we drove out and then stayed the night at a hotel or I mean a motel or something. And well, maybe we were staying that night, but like we arrived that morning or that day or something, and so like I went swimming in the motel pool, and I I wear contacts, and I dove in, and I guess I opened my eyes underwater without meaning to, and I lost one of my contacts, and my eye was burning so bad I had to move the contact over to the other eye, which was fine. They were the same prescription, but I, but then I had to do this the whole show, and it was still worth it. Um,
yeah, because first of all, it's music. I mean, even if you can't see anything, you're listening to it. It's music.
yeah, I mean, it was a pain to do that, but it was still worth it because it was like, this band was like, they were like my idols, and Mike Patton in particular, I was fascinated by, uh, but yeah, and then so that was the first time. The last time I saw him was probably with Mr. Bungle, a
Mhm.
reincarnation of Mr. Bungle, which I'm not as into. Um, uh, I feel bad saying that on the record, but that's fine. I don't expect
You
you. I
didn't
don't
say
want.
they're bad. You're just not as into them. That's
Yeah, yeah. Because it's a reconstituted version of the
right.
band. Several members are not there because they're kind of spread out all over the world now. I think two of the guys are like in Australia or something now. Um, and and so anyway, but yeah, and then I saw Faith No More right before they broke up in '97 in LA, and then I saw um like that was one of my first concerts out here. My best friend um came with me, and like he came from LA to see them, and then in like '99 he came back because uh 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 I think he was with me for Phantomas, which is
Hmm.
another of his bands.
Yeah.
There's an experimental metal group where he uses his voice mostly as an instrument rather than like having any lyrics. Though they do covers, but they also like they have one album of like covers of like it's called the director's cut of like like the Godfather theme and like the theme to to Charade and the theme, like just like theme, like soundtrack pieces or whatever.
Iconic
Rose
stuff in his world.
Rosemary's Baby and stuff like that, and Experiment in Terror, shit like that. And it's fucking great. It's one of the best things he's ever done. But well, that they, that whole band's ever done. But but in '99, the first Phantom Moss album came out, so my buddy I think came to see them with me at the Troubadour, and then I saw Mr. Bungle on their California tour in also in '99, but I may have seen them in 2000. I can't remember. Um, Multiple times on that tour. I wish I'd gotten to see them before. Uh, because I'm a massive fan of every album by Mr. Bungle is very different.
Mhm.
The first one is sort of like jazz, experimental jazz metal carnival fucking music. It's like a
Which already, by the way, sounds different within itself. Like when you put those things together, it's really I Wikipedia'd him before I started listening, and I was like,
yeah.
that was a mistake because it doesn't make any sense when you
Yeah.
write it on paper. So for anyone listening to this being like, what is that jazz carnival? Like it makes
Yeah.
sense when you hear it, but
Yeah.
it sounds crazy when I have to fully acknowledge that as someone who literally just started listening to this a couple weeks ago because you were like, this is my influence. And I was like, how have I missed this entirely?
Yeah, I mean, they only got, I think, a major label because it's insane. They got a major label release.
Right.
They were on Warner. They only got that because of the success of Epic. And and so they
I
were
was
like,
gonna say, but that's what I mean. Like that played on MTV. They were like top 20 at that time. And
"Who,
somehow
Epic? You mean Faith No More, you mean?
yeah, the
Yeah.
real thing that got to top 20. And so I maybe I was too young, maybe because I, was only listening to specific music and like don't really know a lot about music. Maybe that's how it missed me completely. But that's what I mean when I was like, this is not just somebody you pulled out of your pocket that you've only seen play locally. You know what I mean? Like in
Yeah,
your
yeah.
local dive bar or whatever.
No, I mean, look at the band, like any one of these bands he's in, they're brilliant, genius musicians. Um, Mr. Bungle is my favorite thing he's been a
Yeah.
part of, and um, California is probably my favorite thing he's ever done, that he's ever been involved with. But Disco Volante is my next favorite Bungle album, and that one is the second Mr. Bungle album. The first one's incredible, but it's incredible, and it's like very complex and adult for these young guys, but um, I can feel its youngness.
Hmm.
It's
But you're
not.
saying that now. When you first heard it, did you feel that way?
Well, when I first heard it, it was another one of these like dark, uncomfortable
Yeah.
listens. But I just would sit with the discomfort and be fascinated by their choices and feel that fear, but then it would subside as I just stayed in it. And then because it almost felt like it almost felt like somebody being able to commune with the devil, like touching a darkness that I couldn't. Now, as an adult, I'm like, oh, they're just goofing around.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like they're
But
not.
it's a good example of like people who don't get it and why the satanic panic rose and all of
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Because it's like, where did this fucking darkness come from? This person conjured this, and like your mind thinks this way. It's so strange or cacophonous or just challenging, and I'm whatever. Um, but I became fascinated with the experience of being made uncomfortable like that. But Disco Volante, their second album, was another one where it's like, holy shit, you did it again. Like um, it's a completely different sound, more lo-fi, more, almost more varied in its, yeah, like in its sonic uh, topography. It's like it's yeah, it's crazy, and it's more like it's got like kind of spacey surf experimental jazz metal. Like it's crazy. And then but then the third one, the most often made comparison is sort of like Beach Boysy,
Right.
but I feel it was
Exciting.
mostly because of track one, honestly. But and maybe the album cover and stuff. But yeah, there's like a lot of the kind of like spacey surf rocky shit in that too, but it's the most like concise that they've been, but it's like there's just so much dissonance and like some of their most straightforwardly beautiful stuff is in there. Like there's a track that's sort of, one of the crowning achievements by the band called Pink Cigarette that is stunning.
Any
Retro.
of this, listening to this young, when you were young, any of this make you want to go down that route, being a
Uh,
musician?
yeah, the first thing I wanted to be was in that band.
Well,
Um,
that's not really the same thing.
no, no, I know, but I'm saying like that's what I was like. I don't want to be just some shitty knockoff. I want to do. I wish I could make music like this. I wish I could do that, but I couldn't sing, and I couldn't. I didn't play any instruments. And then even when I like later in life kind of fiddled around, I couldn't make music like they. I could strum and do like singer-songwritery strumming. I couldn't do the insane shit they did. Um, they just had. There was an alchemy of varied and almost not even varied and kind of incongruous elements that like influences
Mhm.
that they came together and it can't you couldn't reproduce it. It's just yeah, they had with their particular fascinations of sound like soundtrack music and all this other shit um like horror scores and all this stuff um cartoons and I don't know. They just made something that has been for a lot of artists since very influential. Like a lot of the bands, like you've heard of Incubus.
Right.
You've heard of
Where they're getting their influences from, these guys.
yeah. These guys like Incubus and like not that Papa Roach is a band that
No,
anyone
but
wants to
that's a
cite.
great example of like more mainstream. And because it sounded poppier, that's why it became more mainstream.
Yeah, Serge Tankian from I think that's how you say his name from System of a Down. Like all these guys were will get and Deftones and all the like will give it up
Yeah.
to Faith No More, Mr. Bungle, Peeping Tom. Well, maybe not. Like, I mean, Peeping Tom is another one of them, but I don't think they consider Peeping Tom an influence. I think they'd probably because they weren't listening to them when they were forming. But like Mr. Bungle and Faith No More, um, uh, for a lot of these bands, it was like that's their favorite. Like they will be like Mike Patton is. It's this fucking famous thing when I would go to concerts and I would hear people shouting it all the time obnoxiously. It's so fucking annoying. And Mike Patton, I'm sure, is sick of hearing it. But Mike Patton is a god is a thing that you'd
They
hear at
just shouted at random concerts
yeah,
or at
yeah.
his concerts
Oh,
because,
his concerts.
well,
His
that
concerts.
makes sense. But the way you started to tell that story, I was for a minute thinking it was just random concerts. And I was like, well, yeah, but you can go see him. You don't need to go see this person that you're shitting on by saying someone else is better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Anyway.
it's just they would just, but it's a weird thing to shout even at
Well, yeah, but I
the
mean, that you constantly people just are yelling "I love you" to people in crowds. It's like
I
you
know,
just
but
hear the artists go back "I love you" too. It's like, no, you don't. Stop indulging them. You
I
don't
know.
know
I
them.
wish they would stop indulging them. I wish they would just be like, "Hey, maybe don't ruin the moment. We were having a nice, quiet moment. Shut the fuck up." But 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 yeah, whatever. So people like, but that is how a lot of these bands, I think, kind of view him because he's such an influence, and it's just like, dude, that guy, like, he deserves the the notoriety they got.
Mhm.
But he had, it's on like I was talking to a buddy of mine my buddy Glenn Howerton, who's on Sunny, he saying that about their show. I feel like their show has had this influence, and all these writers,
Yeah.
because they've been going for so long, all the writers in the writers' rooms, and all these comedies, and even some dramas, but like comedies who like where the writers are they're coming into their own now. They're all like, dude, you guys and your show, but they will be on writing on shows that are enjoying more commercial success than It's Always Sunny, because It's Always Sunny it is a more challenging, uncomfortable, darker humor, like with that feels so, I think, like off the cuff to people. It feels so like loose and
Yeah.
just like riffy, that it feels that they're like, well, you guys are funny, but like you don't deserve awards for that, you know? And it's like this fucked up thing where I'm like, no, I don't know, like it's like they
This
are
is
your
a skill
fucking,
that I think for the longest time, especially in comedy genre, right? Like you were expecting it to fit a certain mold, and they didn't fit that mold, and they didn't fit that mold 15 years ago when that mold was still kind of the top of everything.
yeah,
Now it's much more common for shows not to fit the mold, but because they've been around for so long and it's quote unquote an older show, it feels to people who are seeing it now like less revolutionary because it's been happening this whole time. It's like it's almost like they just were ahead of their time. And like that made them miss the mark of things like awards. I mean, I don't know how much they care about awards. They did that whole episode about awards and like it was kind of tongue in cheek, but like who knows what that was like in the writer's room. Um, but that's what it to me feels like for a lot of things that people talk about as influences, they don't necessarily get their due, but their due is kind of the fact that they've inspired so many other people or so many other things that come after it. Like that's a huge
yeah,
legacy. To me, that's better legacy than like, oh, I have a bunch of statues that like are only for,
totally. It's just that it's frustrating. It's like
yeah, oh yeah,
you'd like for them to get it in their lifetimes. Like
yeah,
Nick Drake is this fucking amazing singer-songwriter that died before he ever really got to see the
right.
impact he's had this very lasting impact on singer-songwriters now, but he was from like the 60s, and and he's just he's amazing. He's amazing. Actually, I think they're having a reissue of his of one of his albums that's about to come out or did just come out or something, that gives like some insight into the process.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's like early different recordings that they just discovered, um, of some of those songs, kind of the bones of the songs, which I'm even more interested in. Pink,
Yeah, but I always wonder like when they're not around to say if they want that out in the world because it's early, right? It's maybe unfinished. It's almost like a leak in a sense. Like,
yeah,
you
yeah,
want that out in the world? As a fan, of course you want it, but I always wonder about that. They did that. I mean, talk about mining catalogs like when after Tupac died and all this stuff that they put out that was like half finished work or like
yeah.
there are a lot of examples, but I mean that's the first one that came to mind and I always think about that. I'm like I want it, I want to consume it, but then feel a little bad. Also, he's not
But see,
profiting from it because he's not here.
I would argue I don't know. Like
No, I'm not.
obviously, you know,
Nobody knows. He's
it
not here to answer it. Yeah.
yeah, but it's like this is not a great perfect analogy, obviously, because it's there's no world in which the unfinished or like their legacy or whatever falls into disrepair because the spire wasn't completed, you know, because an album wasn't completed or whatever. But like in the case of like I can't remember who it was. There's some like maybe Gaudy or however you pronounce their name. Like I think there's some like building he designed that he died before it was finished, and then scholars of his work and like architectural scholars of his work have had to kind of like guess at how he would have finished it so that they could complete the
Sure.
building so that it doesn't fall into disrepair because it needs this the top wasn't finished and shit like that.
Yeah.
So not a great analogy, but I'm
No, I
like,
mean, listen, there are
but
a lot of examples. I think that's a good example, but that because it's a physical thing, I don't know if I consider a building art. And that can be something people yell at me about in the
oh my
comments.
God, go look at Gaudi's stuff. I don't, I'm
I've
sure
seen
I'm
it. I'm not saying
mispronouncing
it's
it.
it's not beautiful, but like I do think it's a little bit different because you're also building something to be functional, whereas like art just has to make you feel something. It doesn't actually have to always have a quote unquote functional purpose.
I'll tell you,
So
I find the architecture of the fucking what's the museum up there on Skirball? Uh,
the Getty?
yeah, I find the Getty building more moving than a lot of the art that's in there for me.
No, that's
So
fair.
so so I'm like, I don't know. I just it's like it's they've created so many beautiful spaces and anyway, um, architecture's art, I think. But whatever. But but yeah, so like I would bet that even if he would be like, you'd ask him personally, well, I don't want that released. That wasn't done. I'm a little embarrassed about it. But it's like, okay, but there are people you're a fan of.
Hmm.
If that person, if one day somebody's like, hey, like, because you've always you things you're such a massive fan of, it's like, hey, we've unearthed this piece of never before heard music from the era that I bet even Nick Drake would be like, oh yeah, I want to hear that music by
Yeah,
that
of
other
course. You're
person
gonna
I'm
want
a
it as a fan. Yeah.
and so then I'm like, okay, well then you don't get to have a different standard.
That's yeah.
like like I just feel like we all it's like, look, don't release it when you are having like when you're like, this is the definitive version of it. And like, um I get not releasing it then and whatever, but then I'm kind of like, well, posthumously, while I don't want my wouldn't want my like family somehow making me look stupid in
Mhm.
my death. I'm also like, like if I was an artist, like, of any sort, being like, well, here's some early drafts of things. I'd be like, all right, well, I'm dead. And
Well, it's like, what if you're like your audition tapes for stuff?
honestly, there's a lot of tapes that I wish people could see.
Oh, okay, great. Well, then
Because
that answers
no,
the question.
there's a bunch in there that I don't, but there's some that I'm like, this is better than anything that I've gotten to do on film because like, but I don't want to like release it and seem aggrieved
Right,
and
right.
seem like I'm like I should have gotten it. It's not even that I think I should have. It's that I'm like it kills me that as an actor you record. It's all just you're telling a joke in space.
Yeah,
There's no one around to laugh. There's no one, it just is like you're creating a piece of art for who, and I mean art, I'm using that loosely, but like you're killing yourself to make this thing. And there's it's a no thank you that you never even get told.
yeah.
So you just put it out. It's like, oh, there I go. I gave it to my team, and I'll never hear anything unless I get it. And most of the time you fucking don't. And so, and it's weird to think I killed myself to make that good. I worked so hard on this and did like a better job because the material or the character or connection, whatever that I had with it, like it just worked better than a lot of the stuff that's made it to TV or film that I've been in. Um, and the only people who'll ever get to see it are my agent and manager, and then
Whatever casting director.
whatever casting director or associate sees it, and then it stops there. Or if they like it, then they show it to producers, and then it stops there. Or if they like it, they show it to the studio and network, and it stops there. Like I'm like, you're fucking kidding me. I killed myself for this.
Right.
So
Well,
in a way, I'm like, go for it. Release my fucking
I was
tapes.
just going to say, I will leave you with two things. One, this is common now that I'm seeing on Instagram and on TikTok of actors doing that, where they're like, the thing I auditioned for. versus the thing I got. And a lot of times the thing they auditioned for is not the thing that they got. And so they are putting out, if they, I don't know what the legality is about like owning the material because yeah, it's their video, but it's like somebody else's words. But regardless, they are putting out their own audition tapes. And a lot of it is, people who don't have the credits you have, who are trying to get seen to actually
Mhm.
have a big break. But it is becoming more common, I think, to share those tapes. The second thing I want to leave you with is what I will always keep leaving you with is just like when I initially asked that question about like, did you want to be a musician? In my head, I was like, writing music because I want to get back to writing because Nick should be writing for himself somehow. So if
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
music, some sort of script, I'm going to leave you with that. You're going to have to,
Oh,
that's your
God.
homework. I always leave the audience with homework to go watch the things, or in this case, also listen to the things that we've spoken about, and I will tell them where to find those things in a second. But I'm leaving you with homework too, to write
Yeah.
something where you can be funny and you can do the kind of thing that you want to do that you don't feel like you get to do a lot.
Well, this is I think I'm gonna fail this class, but because I won't get my assignment in on time, but I appreciate the fire under my asshole.
Oh yeah, there's a real fire. There's no deadline. There's no like next class where I'm going to be looking for papers. Like it's
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, so I do want to leave everyone obviously who is listening with places to find these things, as I mentioned. Mike Patton's music, I always say, listen, music is available pretty much everywhere. I never know where to tell you to actually find it. I like to leave you with somewhere easy, but I do think a lot of the easy places are unethical. They don't give the artists the residuals they need.
Yeah.
So while I'll say something like Spotify here or, Apple, if you have like just the general Apple Music, those are options. But if you have a local shop and you're willing to buy it, maybe try that. The other thing I will say is Primitive War. Obviously, Nick's new movie is in theaters now. I don't know the best theater to see it in. It really depends on where you live. So, maybe just, do they still say check your local listings? I don't know. Maybe check your local listings. And thank you all for being a part of the Made Possible by Pop Culture, the podcast experience. There are more episodes coming in season 3, including one in just a few days with an actor who is in 3 new series right now. Try to guess who that might be. Put your thoughts in the comments. Stick around. And thank you for listening and or watching.